Hey there, ladies. I'm Jen with my sister and me Ministries, and I just want to welcome you to this week's Face-to-Face Friday. Thank you so much for taking time to join us today. Mary Ann and I are excited to start a new series with you, and this series is going to be called An Invitation to Rest. Now, some of you know that we held our annual women's retreat, our Holding Fast to Hope retreat recently. And we focused on the rest that we find in God, the gift of entering his rest. And it was so deeply important to us that we could not just do this for a weekend, but then just continue digging deeper and following Jesus's instructions of coming to him so he can give us rest. What's really interesting is throughout that weekend that we focused on rest, barely any of us got any rest. And it's always exciting to kind of be in a place with a lot of women who are seeking God and, doing fun activities and hanging out and talking. But at the end of that weekend, we encouraged everyone to remember to take a moment with the Lord, to be still when you got home, to enter back into your daily routines with joy and strength. And that's only going to happen when you spend a little time alone with the Lord. So let's think about that for a minute. I want to jump into the Gospel of Matthew first thing today. This is a scripture that we based not only this retreat on, but this entire writing series. When Jesus offers us an invitation to come to him to rest, we have a choice to RSVP yes or no, right? Many of you get a lot of invitations. I'm sure that you do. And we have to say yes or no to each one. Some of you might not be good at RSVPing. I know that drives me crazy, but I've also been guilty of it. So when Jesus says, hey, come to me, and we don't, that's an automatic no we're giving him. And in order to say yes to him, it may mean we need to say no to something else. And I think that's where we get into trouble. Because as women, I know that our lives are kind of spread thin many days. We're trying to do so many things, and then we end up not doing any of them well because we're just too tired. And then we call our friends and we're like, I have so much to do. And then they say it back. And I'm thinking, this is not a badge of honor. Having a lot to do is not, give me a crown for it. It's, I haven't found the way to take my weary self and sit it before the Lord. And that's what Jesus tells us in Matthew chapter 11. And I'm going to start in chapter 11, but verse 28. Let me read this to you really quick. It says, then Jesus said, come to me, all of you who are weary and carry heavy burdens, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you. Let me teach you, because I am humble and gentle at heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy to bear, and the burden I give you is light. This verse is amazing. Jesus is like, hey, I've got the answer to your weary soul. There actually is one. And here's how you do it. You're going to come and you're going to learn from me, and I'm going to teach you a new way. And we say no. We rather go ahead and keep on driving ourselves into the ground and keep doing one more thing. I'm sure this time management podcast will teach me how to do that. And guess what? It doesn't. I have bought the planners. I have listened to the podcasts. I have bought book after book that I've read 1 or 2 chapters of. And this is how I know I need to do it differently. Do you need to do it differently? Is today the day that you're like, hey, you're right. I really do need rest, Jesus. Not that I'm right, but that he's right. And here's the thing. He says, I'm humble and gentle. So what does that mean? Well, that probably means he's not going to drag you kicking and screaming. It probably means that he's going to gently talk to you and teach you how to do it. His way to teach you is not going to be the way you think it is. He's not going to say, hey, if you just time block here, you can fit me in. He's going to say, hey, why don't you put me at the top of your priority list? And let's just see how the day goes. We can't do it. We're just so overwhelmed and overcommitted and overworked that we have become used to that. And are we so comfortable in exhaustion that we just can't even imagine another way? It's just become normal for us, right? We just constantly say, I've got so much to do and I'm so tired. I'll tell you what I'm tired of. I'm tired of saying that. I'm certainly tired of hearing my own voice say it. So I want to look with you back in time a little bit. There was a time where the Israelites were in slavery to the Egyptians. And if you know this story, God asked Moses, hey, go get my people, set them free. And he's like, I'm not the right guy. But he says, yes, you are. And so they make this plan. And then they're in the wilderness, and God is giving the Israelites a chance to trust him, a chance to learn from him. And they just keep on grumbling. And they, no matter what God does, grumble, grumble, grumble. Well, the scripture I'm going to read you is Exodus 20, and it's in verse 8. And the thing about this is that this is actually when Moses comes down with the 10 commandments that God has given us as a boundary, as a guardrail, so to speak, for our life. And in verse 8, he says this: remember to observe the Sabbath day by keeping it holy. You have 6 days each week for ordinary work, but the seventh day is a Sabbath day of rest dedicated to the Lord your God. On that day, no one in your household may do any work. And he goes on to include everyone who lives in the house. And then I want to jump to verse 11. For in 6 days the Lord made the heavens, the earth, the sea, and everything in them. But on the seventh day he rested. That is why the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and set it apart as holy. Okay, so I think we can safely say we know God wasn't tired. He rested on the seventh day after creation so that he could look back and say, wow, revel in the celebration that this is what had been accomplished. Every creature, everything that he created, he could just look back and say, wow. Do we take 1 day a week? Heck, do we take an hour a week and look back at our week and say, wow, God, you provided so much. Every single day that I walked with you, there is something to be found of your majesty, of your grace, of your mercy. Every day. But we don't. We hurry to the next thing. We say, hurry through our quiet time so we can get to the next thing on our list, and we just scratch it off like it was just something to do. When in fact, it's the one thing that will restore our souls, is sitting with him. I think Jesus can restore my soul in 5 minutes, but maybe he wants to spend a little more time with me. And you know what? As you spend time with him, I bet you want to spend more time with him too. So as Jesus invites us to come to him, do we say yes? Do we say no? Every day it's a choice. Now, God says take 1 day a week. He's like, hey, there's 168 hours in the week, and I'm just asking you for 24 of them. But we can't even do that. In fact, my pastor's wife taught a message once, and her comment in there was that commandment of keeping the Sabbath day holy seems to be the one command that we're just okay with breaking. We don't even give it a thought. We don't even give it a thought. How many days do you sit around going, oh my goodness, I forgot to keep the Sabbath? No. But if you leave Walmart with an extra case of water underneath your cart because you forgot to pay for it, I'll bet there's a little part of you that's like, I better go back in and pay for this, because you don't want to steal. You don't want to not look when you're driving for fear of hitting somebody on a bicycle. You don't want to do these things. So why do we skip over the Sabbath as if it is just nothing? Boy, let me get off my soapbox for a minute, because I am the queen of giving up my Sabbath. There are many things that can steal it. There are many things that can take us away from it. But as Jesus taught us throughout Scripture, his ministry, he took time to retreat. In Mark, in chapter 6, he and the disciples had been doing a bunch of stuff. They'd all been out healing and helping and serving. And Jesus is like, hey man, we got to get out of here and we need to go rest a while. And so he sends them off on a boat, and they all get away, and they try to run from all these people. And lo and behold, here these people are. More people that need healing, more people that need Jesus. And you know what Jesus did? He didn't say, oh my gosh, what are all these crazy people doing? Don't they know I need a nap? No, he didn't say that. He said, I'm going to have compassion on these people. And he stood up and he started teaching them something. And you know why he could do it? Because he'd already found rest in God. He does it as a habit. That was what he did. That was who he was. So he could do a little bit more. But he rested in between things. And we need to do the same thing. We flat out need to do it. So I don't know, well, maybe I've said it too much already, but we just flat out need to do it. Okay, so let's jump back into this thought of being invited. God says, hey, all you who are weary and carry heavy burdens, come on over and I'm going to give you some rest. Doesn't that sound good? I think it does. Would you like your soul restored today? I sure do. I think about all these things that are in front of us, all these things that we do. And as we cover these things in the next few weeks, we are going to hopefully give you some ideas of maybe how to do it differently. Not because we say so, not because we've done it right. It's because we've done it wrong. It's because we've done it wrong. And we've been studying and thinking on this topic of rest for so many months that God's like, I think you need to spend a little more time here so we can fully, that can be a habit. That can be a habit forming thing that we do that is just natural to our day. And doesn't that sound amazing? I think it sounds amazing. You know, I think that God knows that we have like these tendencies to stick to our tasks and want to accomplish things. And that's why he gave us a break. How many of you take your lunch break and you just sit at your desk and you don't even walk away to eat a sandwich? Like, if I can just get through this lunch break, then I can just get on with my day. And then when I get off work, I can get off work 30 minutes early. So now I can go do this and this and this and this. You don't say, hey, let me sit for 30 minutes. Let me open my Bible. Let me get refreshed for a little bit. That day you take with the Lord is to help you be the best you can be for the other 6 days. The best follower of Jesus, the best servant of others, the best listener, the best giver, the best hearer. All of those things, they all matter. So while I'm got your attention, I want to ask you, when was the last time that you said, okay, Jesus, I'm going to go away and rest a while? And if you can't remember, then maybe check out that scripture one more time, dig in a little deeper to what it looks like to have rest. And by all means, stick with us through this series because we're learning right alongside you. We absolutely want to hold on to Jesus so tightly that we have every gift from him and we receive those gifts that we reach for. Ladies, we hope that you will have a good week, and Mary Ann and I are going to be praying for you to take that leap, to put down the things, to put away the to-do list. Join us as we learn how to rest together. And while we're doing that, we're absolutely going to be holding fast to hope. Have a great week, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.